All right, we are live on episode 31 of the Blue Crocus Experience. And if you haven't subscribed or rated us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please go over there and do that. But I'm joined today by Dave Webb of Well Built Equipment out of Illinois. He's going to tell us some more as we get going about what they do, but we're going to chat about their company and how they fit into the tree business and whatnot. So Dave, if you want to just introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll get started and dive into some of what we were talking about of the roller coaster you guys have been on with the company.
Sure. My name's Dave Webb Jr. I'm not actually a junior, but when I started working here, there were 3 Daves, so I got the nickname Junior, much to my mother and grandmother's delight.
I love it.
Yeah. I've been working here since pretty much I was a kid, about 12 years old. Started in the labor side in our scaffold yard and became a mechanic, and now I do service and sales and just about everything imaginable here. We're Well Built Equipment's a family-owned and operated company. We're based out of the south side of Chicago, a little town called Crete, kind of where the farm fields meet the city. My dad started our company in my backyard when I was a kid, and now we've grown up to a pretty large company. We have almost 500 powered lifts and over 130,000 pieces of scaffolding. So we do everything from
When you say that you have 500 lifts, are you like you guys have that many on site that you use, or?
That's our rental fleet equipment wise is about 500 units on the powered access side. And then our non-powered access side on the scaffold side, we have a little over about 130,000 pieces of scaffolding.
Wow, that's crazy. So because you service the tree industry as well. Is that correct?
Yep. So back when they started to come into this country, our shop had the joy of starting to work on spider lifts back in the day. And now, obviously, they're a lot more common in people's work sites than they used to be. Still definitely not a mainstream piece of equipment, but our experience in working on them is pretty lengthy. We went through the long period of that market developing and all the manufacturers having a large stack of problems with their equipment. So it definitely has been an interesting run up to that side. It's exploded kind of into something I think then more than pretty much anybody anticipated it to. That's for sure.
So let me ask you a question. Do you like when the equipment breaks down all the time, being a machine shop, or is it just an extra headache for you?
If it's not our equipment, I mean, I don't mind it. We show up every day as mechanics, and the best thing that we get to do is make machine work again.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason we do the job is figuring out the repairs nobody else can do.
Yeah. Cool. So you're servicing, I mean, everywhere from tree companies, the spider lifts and stuff, to I'm seeing here on your website just lifts for general construction as well.
Yeah, we started out working on our own equipment just because when we were smaller, we could never afford new equipment. That kind of lent our shop to the direction of always having to repair everything. And that experience just kind of grew to the point where we could work on, well, pretty much anything. And anything that lifts up human beings or is material handling except cranes, we work on here. And we don't just do little repairs, we do frame off reconditioning and restorations. We take entire pieces of equipment apart every day and put them back together piece by piece.
Yeah, I saw a picture on your profile. I think it was a memory of you get an engine swap that you had done a few years ago.
Yep. Our shop's a little different from most shops. We stock a very large amount of parts for common machines, entire engines for popular makes and models of booms and scissors, pumps, valve blocks, thousands and thousands of feet of hose and fittings, manufacture our own control cable assemblies, coil cords, joysticks for just about every aerial lift made in the construction world for the last 20 years. And as you can see behind me, a amassment of decals,
Yeah.
fitting engine components over here, hydraulic tanks. It's a never-ending supply of parts. If it's not here, that's downtime, and we don't like downtime.
Gotcha. So I imagine, like, are most of your repairs hydraulic related, since that's where a lot of the wear and tear happens?
Oh yeah, yeah, cylinder repairs, hoses, fittings, pumps, you name it. Everything on hydraulic operated equipment is always waiting for the next leak. They just don't make stuff like they used to. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I mean that's a little background, I guess, of what it is that you do, and kind of sets the stage, if you will, for what we're going to chat about. But let's dive into the roller coaster, because I love hearing people's stories of heartbreak and rebound. And let's I don't know if you know where to start, but
Uh, yeah, I mean, my dad and uncles could definitely tell the story better than I could. I was just a kid, back in the day. But really, we went from a company with just a couple of guys to 23 full-time employees now. Our scaffold division has even more guys building scaffold every day. Uh, we started out, and up until really about 10 years ago, we were pretty small. Uh, After I got out of college, we made the decision that we really had to grow quite a bit to just get to the equipment discount levels that our competitors were getting at. And it actually worked out in our favor. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now if we hadn't done that, just because the gap between the big guys and us little guys, I know 500 machines seems like a lot, but we're quite small still compared to our larger competitors.
gotcha.
So that bridging that gap was is hard to overcome. You don't want to constantly grow. At some point, you really hope it plateaus off. Uh, Exponential growth is great and all until it gets out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the things along the way that I don't know, some of the stories even from your perspective?
Oh man, it really it's sad to say, but we believe in luck and karma here. We're all Christian people, and it's a family-owned business, but some of the things that have kind of happened have really been luck or unfortunate circumstances. We didn't used to do full equipment teardowns, but during the height of the recession in 2010, 2011, we had to do something to keep our guys busy. People weren't renting equipment, they weren't getting it serviced, but if they did own equipment, people were putting money into it to hopefully make it last them 3 to 5 or 10 more years because they just couldn't afford to buy new anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started with rattle canning machines pretty much with spray paint cans, and now we have a full-time painter, full-time welder fabricator here. And we do frame off restorations and recons, stuff that a lot of people really have never seen and wouldn't ever dare try to do. We do every single day here.
I love it. Cool. So like, I mean, you've morphed a lot, but how far, like, so I guess, would you take people from Florida? Like, how far do you service, I guess, is the question. Because I want people who are hearing this hopefully to call you guys up and be like, oh, this fits something that I've been looking for too.
So there's not that many people who do full reconditions of equipment here in the States, especially in the aerial lift industry. Machines are very complicated to work on. Getting everything back together and having the knowledge of how to take it apart without it costing an arm and a leg, let alone the equipment to do it. We, kind of fell into a good place where we can take equipment from all over the country. We see machines from Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, New York, Connecticut, New Hampshire, out to Colorado, California, Washington State.
Wow.
We've worked on equipment to Alaska, up into Canada, all over the provinces. And just because what we do is a different level, we can take a 65-foot boom and rebuild the entire machine for a quarter the cost of a new one. And it's like brand new, as new as you can get without spending 4 times as much money on it.
Yeah. So do people just they have a broken down machine and then they just ship it over to you?
Yeah, some people bring them up on trailers, and if they're that broke, we can't get them off of the trailers, and it stays here in our yard while we work on it to get it to the point where their trailer can get out if it's too big to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Other people use freight carriers, send them in on LTL loads inside of box trucks.
Yeah.
Just any way you can get them here. It really we don't just slap paint jobs on stuff. So when we start to get customers in an area, it doesn't take much for the word of mouth to spread that, hey, I know it's a bit of a drive, but these guys really know what they're doing and have set themselves apart, and my equipment's the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
Uh, we're definitely not perfect by any means. We do mess stuff up along the way, but we do our best to help out customers whenever we can.
I love that. I love that. Cool. Yeah, that's huge. I guess you do have a pretty specific niche, but I mean, for people to be going, Alaska is a pretty long drive from Chicago.
Yeah, we don't drive there.
But for them to drive there to drive their stuff down to you, like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, those guys have a long off season. So in the winter, if somebody needs a piece of equipment rebuilt to go out in the middle of nowhere, well, they don't mind going to someplace warmer. And a lot of those guys who have the money to do it they're traveling to Florida or going to where their winter cottage is instead of staying where it's cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cold. Pretty cold. Yeah, I mean that also leads to the question of what is your seasons? Like, are you guys just slammed year round? Is there some sort of seasonality for you?
Oh man, we used to get winters off. Those were really nice days. Now it seems we're busy year round. We try to maintain a backlog at all times. Just due to parts delays in our industry, we use a lot of parts that most people never really touch. If the machine comes apart, those parts are getting replaced. I'm not pounding pins back through old bushings. If the pin's warped or deformed in some way, I'm not forcing it back in. We make demands of manufacturers for parts sometimes on too large of a scale for us to get the parts in a timely manner, for parts that just should be replaced, but nobody else is replacing. And it really shows in the equipment. One of the things we do is we do tear downs of scissor stacks on machines, replace bushings and pins in them for customers constantly. And as you can hear the banging of pins coming out from the
Oh yeah,
shop next.
it's the authentic experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's just things that even the manufacturers look at us and are like, why are you guys buying this stuff? Nobody buys this stuff. Well, we buy it because failure is not an option. It's you replace it or chase it, and it's somebody's life in the air. Uh, it's something that we take very seriously here, and we have a perfect safety record. No accidents in 33 years on equipment we've worked on,
Wow.
and that's thousands and thousands of machines. We used to try and keep track of it, but over 4 computer systems, that's definitely hard to do.
Yeah. What's the craziest job that you've been a part of?
Oh man, that's all over the board. It really depends what industry you're coming from. I mean, we've done rebuilds on bucket trucks that people just don't even want to do. Not because they're old necessarily, because we just won't work on them when they get to that point.
Yeah.
Tear downs down to the frame that nobody wants to touch because they don't say it's worth it. But in the Midwest here, we're in the salt band. You get 4 or 5 year old trucks that look like they're 20 years old.
Yeah.
Spider lifts, we do full tear downs on those as well. And the chaos that unfolds from that of most of these manufacturers having no idea what they put onto a machine is a lot of fun. But
Just as far as sourcing parts and stuff.
yeah, and we work around that. We manufacture a lot of our own stuff on purpose. Some of that is because we like our tolerances a lot tighter on boom slides and pads. It just, if I go in there and it costs $7,000 to tear a machine halfway apart or most of the way apart, then when it goes back together, it better feel like brand new and have no slop. Otherwise, it's not worth it to the customer.
Yeah.
That'll last another 2 to 3 thousand hours before the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we've had our fair share of fun ones. Definitely seen a lot of people's machines after accidents, tip overs, tree limbs going through boom arms, baskets being ripped off in the air. Machines that
What
are
happens to
coming.
the people when that happens, when they're ripped off in the air?
As long as they're tied off, usually they're okay. For the most part, the safeties on these machines is incredible. They seem very unstable in the air, but when you see the aftermath of accidents and what happened to the machine and that they did stay up and the guys survived, or if they went over, it's just unbelievable. You see people go over in 60-foot booms and they walk away with barely any scrape on them.
Wow.
And don't get me wrong, the opposite story happens a lot too, but it's a hard thing. Usually we're on the insurance side of it, the insurance company calling us or a company calling us at the referral of an insurance company or another guy who had an accident, doing the accident investigations and all the paperwork and everything to make it right is daunting, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so you guys must have to meet certain standards then if you're doing insurance work.
Yeah, everything that leaves our shop certified comes with a warranty on all our work for 90 days to a year and further out, depending on what's getting replaced on it. Especially in the welding and fabrication side, our testing is, next level. All the machines we work on go through load testing and side force testing every time they come in for an annual. We're constantly readjusting pressures on function manifolds and valve blocks, making sure everything's operating in the correct tolerances. And we expect, if an insurance company or a customer or anybody chooses us, that when that machine goes back to you, it's in like new or as close to a condition as it possibly could be.
Cool. Cool. That's awesome. And how can people get in touch with you for, getting their machine worked on or to buy or rent a machine from you?
You can always find us on Facebook or on the web, aerialliftrepairs.com or wellbuiltequipment.com. Both of them go to the same site.
Cool.
Our 800 number is on there and our local number. We don't have computerized phones. As long as we're open, you can call that number and you talk to a human being right away. You'll never talk to a computer here. You might be on hold for a little bit if we have 4 or 5 phone calls going at the same time. But we'll get you taken care of right away. And then we have after hours emergency support always. The aerial lift industry, a lot of people get stuck up in the air and nobody picks up the phone. So we tend to be a resource for people who are in a spot they don't want to be, which is usually 50 or 60 feet off.
And the machine just locks up or something?
Yeah. I mean, in the tree industry, especially, even the best operators and climbers and rope guys, stuff happens. Branches get inside machines, they get into your cabling. You catch a part of the machine you can't see on the blind side on something you didn't expect to be there, and you just get stuck. And of course, there's machine failure. I mean, they're pieces of equipment. Nothing is made the way that it used to be to keep the costs down, and they break down a lot. You can be using a machine and just heading down for the day, and it just breaks out of nowhere with nothing going on.
So how do you help from, I don't know, like from where you are? How do you assist them when they're in the air stuck?
It's something that is kind of our secret sauce, if you will, something that people really question a lot, and manufacturers and other dealers do, is how do we get so many people out of the air in timely manners? For the most part, it's experience.
Yeah.
My guys here who pick up the phone have had to get machines running with almost no computer, sensors bypassed, just about every relay imaginable. If we need to figure out a way to get somebody down, that's what we do, is explain to them how to do it over the phone. If that involves video, phone call, well, hop on Facebook Messenger or one of the other apps and try and talk them through it so they can get out of the lift. Having to call the fire department to get down is embarrassing and isn't exactly good publicity for your company.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. So you guys basically just know the machine so well inside and out. You can tell what the parts of it that need to just shut off so they can work it.
Yeah, and for the most part, it's an engine with power going to it. Once you've experienced it with other brands, that kind of carries through. And there's plenty of people around the country who have that same experience. It's not something crazy unheard of that we're the only ones who know how to do it. If we were, there'd probably be a lot more people calling.
So if someone's in the air, we've got to somehow figure out how they can listen to this podcast to find out to call you to know that you're the guy to call. I think that's the key.
Yep. Well, as much as I would like to say that we can get everybody down, we have our own limitations here. We do what we can to help people.
Yeah.
But your first resource should always be the person who's closest to you. If you're calling and there's a guy sitting up there, and it is a important situation where the machine's pinned him or pinched him, or even if he hasn't, but he has medical conditions where you need to get him down and somebody's not picking up the phone, we're always here to help.
Yeah. I love it.
For sure. What goes around comes around. There's some people who they can't find the help when they need it, and we're trying to be that resource as much as humanly possible.
I love it, Dave. That's what business is all about. That's, I think, how every business should be built, and it seems like this one is built very much on a good old-fashioned roots.
Yeah, our customers they're our best advertisement. There are thousands of them out there with machines that we fixed the right way, and they're happy as can be. We always tell our customers you're a nice person, but we prefer to only see you once a year.
Yeah.
Bring it back to us for your annual inspections, or if you're putting that much abuse on it, we'll see you quarterly in our service area. We travel quite a bit. We cover 8 states around Chicago. And part of that is there's manufacturers that we're warranty centers for that only have 5 pieces of equipment here in the country.
Right.
So
that's awesome. Very cool. Is there anything else that people should know before we wrap up here? Anything you want to tell the masses?
No, I mean, if you are listening to this in the tree industry and you're questioning about buying a spider lift or comparing brands, the differences between them, one thing that is different from our shop is that we work on everything. There are brands that we haven't seen because they're new or just don't have a lot of them here. But the major brands we've seen quite a few of and gone through a lot of the common issues on, and we fix the problems that other people can't. The other thing is I'm an honest guy. If you're going to ask me what problems I've seen with a brand or issues that have come up and how they've been resolved, I'm going to tell you, we're straight shooters.
Yeah.
If it means you don't buy the piece of equipment from us or the brand we represent, that's just not how we do business. And you get a lot of phone calls from people all over the country who won't buy a machine from us. But it's our family history, here that if we're going to do anything for this industry to make it better as a whole, we can't keep the knowledge we have here to ourselves. The whole industry has to grow together. Otherwise, it's not helping anybody.
I love that. That's something that every industry could take away too. It's like we gotta help each other out and grow together.
Oh yeah. And the big guys, if I can tell anything to the people who listen to this podcast, it's stop using national rental companies. Sunbelts, United, Aherns, Hertz Rental. Those guys are penny pushing paper jockeys who care nothing about you as a customer and only about price. Safety definitely does not come first for those guys, although they'd like to claim it does. The bottom line is usually where their head's at. And us little guys have to survive. Going to those national rental companies is destroying our industry and has been for years. It's something that we can't preach enough, that us independent guys all over the country, we need your support to make sure that corporations don't just take everything over.
Well, and your value add, your X factor is that you are going to help them. You have that extra level of support and layer of helping and honesty and just practical on the boots experience.
Yeah, customer service, that's second to none. That's what we shoot for. It's one of the reasons we don't have computerized phones and never will. It's the main reason why we've never been bought out and are never for sale. We take pride in the fact that this is a family company. We have second generation employees here besides myself, and inverse second generation employees where the son started working here. Now the dad works here.
Nice.
We want to be a partner for the future. And I know there's a lot of other independent guys out there who do as well. But, the big guys, they try to crush us with numbers constantly.
Yep. Well,
No,
I mean, you're not even necessarily competing with them because you're in a whole different level. So I think
oh,
you've got that going for you, no problem.
yeah, I mean, and I know the other independent guys do as well.
Yeah,
If we hadn't all figured it out, we still wouldn't be here 30 years later.
exactly, exactly. Cool. Well, we'll just wrap up here and then we can chat off air once I end the recording. But if you guys are looking for someone who knows their stuff, get in touch with Dave, wellbuiltequipment.com. You can see a little bit more about what they do. That you've got equipment listed on there as well, and you can find Dave on Facebook and in the groups as well. So get in touch with
Yeah.
him and find out how you can be getting some better equipment and better service.
Yep. Website for service is aerialiftrepairs.com. And on Facebook, we're at Aerial Lift Repairs. Same thing for Instagram and the other social medias. We
Cool.
do post updates and tech tips and things like that, as well as videos. And we're always looking for new requests on information that people want to help out with.
I love it. Well, Dave, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I come from a mechanical background, so it's been really cool to discuss a little bit on the hydraulic lift industry. So hope people find some value in this, and I really appreciate you coming on here.
Thanks a bunch for having me.
Awesome. We'll just wrap up off air.